So of course we have many different companies across the value chain, but really the strong focus is on the battery manufacturing ecosystem. So the
Mhm.
machine builders and equipment providers and battery testing and quality assurance, the equipment
Yeah.
with the battery manufacturers at the end as the end users.
But in Europe, we are certainly strong enough to face this challenge, this huge challenge. It is the main topic as we have in Europe, the main reason of our fail. Then if tomorrow we have a new battery manufacturer wishing to come,
Hmm.
we can propose this, and we think that investors who need to put their money could be could see this like something very interesting.
Yeah.
But the problem, unfortunately, but it's normal also, but the problem, unfortunately, is we are not only competing Europe against Asia, we are also competing internally.
Do you see this learning at the companies that have learned from this? Because I know also many companies were involved in setting up Northvolt, etc. So is this message, did this message come through? Julia, Claude, thank you very much for taking your time here at the Battery Show in the Battery Expedition vehicle to talk about the innovation and competence Upcell is bringing to our industry. Before we jump into today's topic, I want to ask you how you found into the field of battery innovation.
Yes, for me, I did two main things on my life. First, working for Schneider Electric.
Hmm.
And inside Schneider Electric, I am the worldwide boss of a battery business.
Hmm.
And this business for Schneider Electric is a quite very important one. Massive turnover right now and huge potential for tomorrow.
Hmm.
But when I started this journey, I also discovered that it was missing few things for me to do my job inside Schneider Electric, but also for the ecosystem in Europe.
Hmm.
And then I decided to create Upcell, and I am the founder, and I am the guy who had the idea to create Upcell, and I am quite very proud of it. And now I am also the president.
Yeah. So when was that? When you said like
It was
starting Upcell?
2 years and a half ago.
Hmm.
We started Upcell. I had the idea 6 months ago. The nice thing is, even if Upcell is very young, because we can say just 2 years of existence, we are one of the strongest in Europe alliances, and we will explain you later where we are going with global, but our expectation is to be the biggest alliances around the world before end of this year.
Hmm. Okay, that's ambitious. So Julia, what's your path into the battery industry?
My path is a bit different from Claude's. Claude has lots of fantastic experience in robotics and automation as well. My background, I worked as a consultant in economic development, investment strategies, but with a strong focus on the clean energy space. I'm very passionate about this industry, and I think there's fantastic potential, and it's an important industry for us to focus on for so many reasons that we're all very familiar with.
Yeah.
My jump into the batteries industry was coming to these events, the Battery Show and others, and coming to the Upsell Alliance events as well.
From the investment and economic
From the
perspective?
investment and
Oh,
economic
okay.
development background, exactly. Meeting Claude and Claude, wanting to move forward together, and so I jumped into it. It was an opportunity that I could not miss with the fantastic, ambitious ideas that Claude has, that we have for Upsell, and so I started just at the beginning of this year.
Okay, interesting. So then let's talk about Upsell. What is Upsell about? Maybe as the key identity, and then what are you currently doing?
So yeah, since I just spoke, with what we're doing at Upsell now in my role, it is essentially to continue to develop our organization. I mean, we've done a really good job in Europe. We have a fantastic ecosystem and really wonderful industry players that are
Yeah.
involved.
So maybe
And
to interrupt really quick. So what industry players? What is the current role that Upsell serves?
so Upsell's current function is really to bring the battery manufacturers and
Hmm.
equipment providers together. So of course we have many different companies across the value chain, but really the strong focus is on on the battery manufacturing ecosystem. So the
Mhm.
machine builders and equipment providers and battery testing and quality assurance, the equipment
Yeah.
with the battery manufacturers at the end as the end users. And so making sure that ecosystem is there, understanding what innovations and technologies are coming out, and making sure that everybody is aware and they know each other and are able to collaborate and do really good business together, so that
Mhm.
the end goal being accelerating the battery manufacturing industry for a more prosperous, more sustainable world. This is our vision.
Mhm.
And just a quick note that my role is, since I've joined Upcell more recently, is to see who else can we partner with in North America, of course, continuing in Europe and also in Asia. And we can talk a little bit more about that
Mhm.
in a moment.
And maybe I could add a few words
Yeah,
about
sure.
this, saying that the original idea of Upcell, as I had more or less 2 years ago, as I told you, was to say that in Europe, we are certainly strong enough to face this challenge, this huge challenge. And it was my original idea.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, or maybe by chance, I don't know, we learned, we talked to many people, we tried a lot of things, and we understood quite fastly that having Europe alone for facing this challenge is a problem.
Mhm.
Is a bad strategy. Is something not realistic.
Okay.
Then about myself, I am a Frenchman and I love my country, but I am also a European and I love Europe. But what I wish and what we wish is to try to go in a direction where we have a potential to succeed.
Mhm.
If we have no potential, it makes no sense. We just waste our time then. Make no sense. Then this is why we decided to go on a global basis,
Mhm.
saying that they have win-win situation to find between continents.
Mhm.
Because in Asia they have a huge technological advance,
Yes.
maybe 10, 15 years, okay, something like this. But they have a lack of let's say, customers. And in Europe, we have customers, but don't have this technology. Then maybe there are way to think on potential collaboration. We've always this idea,
Okay.
with the most important, local for local.
Okay. So to recap on this, you started off in Europe,
Yeah.
and the idea was to support the build-up of a European battery ecosystem by connecting the different companies together. This can be battery manufacturers, machine builders, digital companies like also Schneider Electric is providing digital solutions, of course, and bringing those together is having a dialogue. I think important to note here is that this is not publicly driven, but this is
Exactly.
participant driven, correct?
Exactly. We since the first day, we decided to be independent
Mhm.
from any government, even if we have a huge respect for all government, obviously, but saying that we want to have this opportunity driven by the industry.
Mhm.
And another very important topic coming from me and the founder of Upcell is that we are founders, business people.
Mhm.
And we have an amazing respect on research people. Amazing. And inside Upcell, we have a lot of university. We have a huge respect. But we are business. And when we are business, you want to develop your business. You want to reach order. Very simply, making cash for surviving.
Yeah, sure. That's what business is about.
Exactly.
So to follow up on what you just said, Claude, you mentioned yeah, certainly European originated, but as Julia also mentioned, you're looking in the direction more internationally.
Yes.
This means looking into the US and looking into China. I'm wondering because this comes at a time where the borders are rising, right? And you're talking about cross-continent collaboration.
True.
Interestingly, 2 weeks ago, I gave a talk at a Chinese conference with the title Cross-Continent Collaboration.
Excellent.
So it may not be a coincidence that we met now here to talk about this, because I think this is exactly the point. The borders are rising, and this is why we need to really actively look where is synergistic collaboration possible. So Julia, maybe the question to you: how do you see Upcell positioning there? Because I can imagine that also many of your members are raising the question now, wait a second, they're talking to Asians now and also potentially Asian machine suppliers. But we thought about we're an Upcell because we built a European ecosystem for the European market. So can you elaborate on what your strategy is and how it should suffice and provide value to all of us?
Absolutely. So it is a difficult topic to manage because it is a very competitive market out here, and European battery manufacturer, well, really the machine builders especially,
Mm-hmm.
they are under a lot of pressure with the market conditions as they are. But the rest of the world has similar pressures, right? And we want to make sure that with this local for local approach, we have that global overview as well. So being able to understand what exactly is going on in each specific market and continuing to feed that information to our members.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a knowledge sharing thing. And then also when there are opportunities to learn from each other. And Europe has some fantastic strengths, but it also has some weaknesses. And that's going to be the case for every single one of these, 3 major regions that Upcell is now growing in. And if we're able to understand these strengths and weaknesses as much as possible, then we can also make sure that for if we think just about Europe for now, that the weaknesses within the European market can be supplanted or complemented somehow with some collaboration
Competences from other continents.
from other
Gotcha.
continents, right? So then if we hope to make sure that the battery manufacturers in Europe, as the example we're setting here, that they are coming out stronger, that makes sense for the European market, because if the battery manufacturers in Europe are stronger, then they will continue to have success. They will continue to have opportunities for European manufacturers as well on the machinery and equipment side. And that just means much more prosperity into the future.
Yeah, then let me ask you directly, what do Asian companies would like to profit from the European market? Because if I'm talking to CATL, like they have everything, right? They have the supply chain on the material side, they have the machine builders. So why would they? Probably not, but probably there are other companies who would be more open. So just can you pinpoint one argument, one example on how the Chinese or Asian, I mean especially Chinese, would profit from a collaboration with the European continent?
If I can first, before to answer to your question, I want to say that, as you say, we are rising wall around the Europe, America are doing the same. Okay, but what is the consequence of this? The consequence of this wall will be to have the entire world collapsing. Because we have one world, we are just on another side, but it's the same planet. And if competencies and skills are spread, and if we say, okay, I will put my all, okay, fine, but for doing what? Then I think it's a topic as we don't need to talk today because it will be too long. But what I am thinking is those walls as we are building now and those geopolitical issues as we have today make no sense. They are stupid, and they will put us to fail in Europe. If I talk about my lovely country, to fail in France, then, but in Europe also, then this is not the solution. Then after, as you say, you understood well, China and Asia, but if we zoom on China, is a huge country. It's a massive country where you have a lot of people, for sure, 1.4 billion, then a lot, and you have a lot of companies also. You have leaders like CATL, and you have leaders like BYD, but okay,
of course,
maybe it's not needed to talk about all companies.
But where do they profit? Like
exactly.
From...
We have leaders, and we have, let's say, medium players. About medium players and leaders. Now, if we talk about CATL, if they want to do something in America, thanks to the wall as America put, is impossible.
Yes.
In Europe, we have also huge constraints, and it's not so simple. Then, if Asia cannot extend its business in Europe,
yes,
they will collapse. If Europe, we don't collaborate with them, we will not achieve our goal and we will collapse because the electrical car is something sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Then the fact is we need to propose to Asian player, to Chinese player, not only, but Chinese also, to say, okay, we want to collaborate with you, but win-win. You will reach something, we will reach something. And we will have 51% of those joint venture. You
In
agreed, it's
Europe.
fine.
Mhm.
You disagreed, sad for you.
Yeah.
But we'll
So-
find
so to-
another one.
To put this in simple words and in simple pictures. So what you're saying is that you will build factories or plants in Europe and invite everyone who has delivered competences, but make sure that the steering committee of those organizations is holding at least 51% to be able to make managerial decisions that secure this local to local attitude that you put forward.
Exactly. And what we want to do is to do what you exactly said in Europe, and then helping machine builders from Europe, from Germany, where you have beautiful machine builders, but also in Italy.
So
but
to expand, or then also globally again?
Yeah, but starting in Europe,
Mhm.
having those few machine builders, the most relevant, to grow and to exist, after to say, okay, they are strong, they prove things, we will push them to go to do things in America, but also in Asia.
Okay.
And in Asia, we found solution. I will not
I'm
do
curious.
name dropping,
Yeah, of course.
but we know 5 battery manufacturers from China buying 50% of their machine from Europe, 30%
So I think
from Germany.
Okay. We will have
Because
to.
they are the best.
We have to deepen our discussions at a later point when you can talk about names, because this is very interesting. Because this is giving hope, right? These are role models that we need to see, that also investors need to see in Europe to gain trust again, to invest in those European companies. Because at the moment, and that's the reason why I came up with this expedition, to bring up a format that not only technical people are interested in, but also people that are looking from the sidelines, so to speak, on thinking like, hey, I could invest in this company or this startup or whatever, but they need to understand the competences, right? And this is what we're doing. And I think this also segues over to one strategy that you are developing right now, and that is the Upcell Turnkey solution that you are currently developing, and I don't know when it will be launched. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I will try to be fast because I see that I am talking a lot.
Just give an executive summary, and then we can dive into specific points.
The launching of Upcell Turnkey solution is now. I think it is exactly now, maybe next week. The idea of Upcell Turnkey solution is to have a board of directors, leaders of this organization, coming from the free zone. I mean, 2 leaders from Asia, 2 from Europe, 2 from America, and with a president who will be a European one. Then is the first thing. The second thing.
So this will be an own organization, or is it within Upcell?
Yes, it is a good point. Inside Upcell, when we created Upcell, it was a non-profit organization in Europe, but after we extend to profit organization. To profit companies, sorry. And now we have Upcell SAS, who is a real company. Then, thanks to Upcell SAS, we are able to really build company for making cash. Our first goal will not be to have cash, because for me, I have no salary. I don't want to have any salary. Then it's not the goal. We just want to have bright employees, like Julia and colleagues as we have, but we don't need more. We just will be sure that Europe will be strong and machine builder will be strong. Then, inside this Upcell Turnkey solution, we have many consortia. We have consortia as we made by ourselves. Then there are, to simplify, we have 2 types of consortia. We have consortia who are close, if I can say. It means companies who decided to collaborate together, saying, okay, we will have just one coating supplier, one calendaring supplier. And they made their team, they try to succeed together. Then we have consortia like this as we created by ourselves.
And I think that the first example that you just gave is already existent, right? I think this is what you have built in the past over the 2 years. There are consortia delivering machines and turnkey solutions, maybe not across the whole battery production chain, but at least in part to European manufacturing plants.
We did. 6 months ago it was, and his name is Ensemble. And Ensemble is able to manage the entire process, but for pilot line, not for gigascale. Okay. We will also host additional consortium like this, as we don't made. We are talking to many consortia who are creating now, and we want to help them. But on top of this, we will also create our consortia who will follow our strategy and our ideas. And his name will be Together. And Together will be a consortia open to every companies around the world.
Okay.
Then we could think easily to say, okay, if it is open to all companies, it will be only Chinese. But no, because we are global, local to global. Well, sorry,
Local
we
to
are
local.
local to local.
Yes.
Then we'll always try to promote European, American.
Okay. I understand you. On the entrepreneurial level and the conceptual exchange, I understand that you see like, okay, this is a machine builder, this is a material supplier, etc. So you can understand like, yeah, this could work. But then putting it one level deeper, one level more granular on the technical exchange, technical interfaces, manufacturing execution systems, etc. Aligning those details, those technical aspects, which are, if you ask me, I'm an engineer by heart, is the core problem why those European lines are failing or lagging behind at the moment. Because this interoperability is not given yet because we're missing the experience on bringing these processes together. So how are you addressing this?
Yeah, good question. If we fail, in my point of view, it is because we were too much self-confident. And it's also because we forget, or we really decided, I don't really know, to don't find the way to reach or to be able to use the experience of Asia. And it is exactly what we'll not do inside Upcell Turnkey solution, because we want to be successful. Then there are some things, as I cannot explain you in detail, I'm sorry about this, because it's a bit too fresh.
Yeah, sure.
But the idea, the main three pillars is that we are now able to have a company who will assume entirely the technical risk. It means when Upcell Turnkey solution will sell a complete production line, giga scale, 50 gigawatt hour, or a pilot line, smaller, when we'll say this to a battery manufacturer, we will assume the risk. We'll say, okay, the production line will be this day with this level of production. If we are not, we pay. We pay 100K
so
per
you're
day.
saying one entity that is taking the
we found the solution, and something as I cannot talk too much, but we sign it contract with many companies who commit on it. And then it is the main topic, as we have in Europe, the main reason of our fail. Then if tomorrow we have a new battery manufacturer wishing to come, we can propose this, and we think that investors who need to put their money could be could see this like something very interesting. If I was an investor, it was what I would to have. Second pillar is we want to do things. We want to build the best group, to have the best machine builder, but also to have European present as maximum as possible, and it's a real challenge. For doing this, we know that we don't have the solution because no one has a solution. Then we created a solution for having the commitment of 90% of battery manufacturers from the world. Existing battery manufacturer. It means when we will create something together, for example, we'll create a solution proposing something, and this proposal, before to try to sell to a battery manufacturer, we will present to those 90% of existing battery manufacturers around the world who will tell us, okay, these points are good, this I don't think so. Then we'll reach a lot of feedback saying, okay,
and those companies are interested in giving you this feedback?
It's a secret also.
Okay, good.
But we did.
I think that this is already inviting us for a follow-up and an in-depth discussion on this.
Then is the second point, who is very important, and the last point is we need also to do two things. It's a super big challenge, certainly the most complex, is when we create a consortia, we need to have a consortia where we'll have the best machine builder. Because if you are a machine builder, if you are a battery manufacturer, and if you buy me a production line, you want to have the best. You want to have the best.
The question is, let me ask critically, what is the best? Because the best is determined based on the application at hand and what the customer wants. So
the best for your wish.
For your application.
Then who have the answer of this question, very complex also, is battery manufacturer.
Mhm.
Then this group of battery manufacturers we are doing now, we will asking them a second question. In your point of view, who is the best coating machine builder around the world, or the top three? Same
For this
for
application.
for each application, for each type of machines.
Okay.
First challenge, quite simple, because Julia is managing this very well, and we already have the answer. The second question, which is more tricky, is when we have this list, and when we don't see, for sure, so much machine builder from Europe, how we change it. Then we found the solution also. But this is the most complex. This is the most complex. To have a list where we have, unfortunately, European machine builder not so well ranked, or we push them step by step. What we are thinking is we have a huge challenge to face in Europe, and Upcell turnkey solution or consortia like this is certainly the answer, or something very important to help us to achieve things. But the problem, unfortunately, but it's normal also, but the problem, unfortunately, is we are not only competing Europe against Asia, we are also competing internally.
That's the problem.
And this is a problem. But the problem, as I would like to say to you, to your great podcast, and congrats a lot for what you are doing. I would like to say to you, okay, can you help me to avoid to have many consortium in Europe and to be just one? But unfortunately, every people are thinking that his consortia is the best, or is a solution who could succeed for many reasons.
Yes.
It is like it is. But the fact is, for us, we know that we have an answer. But, Chinese copied European or America since decades. And Chinese people could tell you that when they're copied, they think that it is a real skills to be able to copy well. They are proud to say that copying is a real art, is a real science. Then, the fact is, when you copy, you have a delay. You have a delay. You have a delay because you copy the existing things. You do not copy what is in the pipe. So then I want to be copy when I will reach my first order. Then it will have a delay.
So your strategy is not copying, but building an own solution, potentially leapfrogging. Is that what you're proposing? So building upon new innovations that are not just resembling what is already given, but to include different manufacturing processes. We're talking about machine builders. So, and I think the like consortia or discussions, networks like Upcell, and Upcell together with other networks, like building a huge network then, will certainly have the potential on identifying the potential that is out there, meaning startups, young companies that are on the forefront of technological development, may it be things like dry coating or very energy efficient drying processes and electrode manufacturing, etc., etc. So this is where I see the big potential. But there are, of course, also big challenges still ahead. And I would like to frame a little bit, put the perspective on Europe again, and ask you the three key questions that I ask every participant of this campaign. And that is the challenges that you see ahead of us in Europe at the moment. If you need to pinpoint one example, each of you, what would it be? Who wants to start?
For me, the main reason of the problem as we face it is that we were too much self-confident and thinking that Europe only will be able to face this problem. And I was exactly with the same idea when I created Upcell. When I cannot say to them, okay, you were fault, I was true. No, we were all of the same page.
So overconfident. Julia, what would you say?
I would say something slightly similar. My thinking is that there was an underestimation of how difficult it was to do battery manufacturing because China had already done it very well. Of course, Korea and Japan had also got this experience. But in Europe, we felt that we have this strong expertise. We must be able to do it on our own. And so that overconfidence and just, the learning process takes time and also needs a lot of public support. Hopefully now with the failure of Northvolt and the spreading of this expertise, hopefully we have learned things and that problem can be mitigated.
Yeah, that's also a question I have to you. Reflecting on the discussions within the Upcell Alliance, do you see this learning at the companies that have learned from this? Because I know also many companies were involved in setting up Northvolt, etc. So did this message come through to the
It's a
industry?
very good question.
I don't really know. Huh?
Mhm.
I would like to be positive
Mhm.
and to tell you yes, but if I am honest, I want to tell you no. I want to tell you that maybe few companies learn a bit,
Mhm.
but I would like to tell you that unfortunately the consequence of Northvolt is not learning. The consequence of Northvolt is fear.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
for me, the fear is the worst situation.
Mhm.
Is the worst case scenario, because when you are afraid, you don't move forward anymore.
Yeah, it's kind
And
of
we
your
need to move forward.
freezing mode.
Now is moving forward
Yeah.
or nothing.
So then let me ask you the question again to both of you.
Yeah.
What is the potential that we can leverage? So what is Europe unique about? What are our strengths?
In my point of view, Europe, we are a great, let's say, zone. We have a lot of great countries, and we have an amazing potential. We have an amazing potential because we are open to collaborate.
Mhm.
It is our culture, and we have amazing university and research. We have also governments who are trying to push them to learn or to be with us, side by side to us. We have also, let's say, great chemical recipe. I see a lot of potential. I think that for me, I'm super confident that we'll be successful, but
Okay.
only if we collaborate.
Okay. Julia?
Agreed. So I would say that the innovation that we have and continue to develop within Europe is, I mean, it's cutting edge still, even if it's at a smaller scale than what we see in China, as an example. We still have these competences that are really fantastic and, at the top of the market. They cost more. And they're not as highly adopted yet, but I
Mhm.
think given the still enormous potential of the battery market, if we look at what is going to be needed for a full energy transition, the demand for batteries is going to be huge and will continue to grow. So the opportunity for Europe to show its strengths is going to still be here. It's not suddenly lost just because
Mhm.
we've had a few big name failures.
Okay, that's promising. And the question is how. So segueing over to my last question, if we would have one advice or one wish that you would give to our industry, what would it be?
I will give you three words. Three words. Three words.
3 words. Okay.
Just words. Just words.
3
You know,
advices.
not being afraid,
Hmm.
moving forward, collaboration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed. The openness to collaboration links also to our answer for your last question. But the openness of collaboration now in Europe, that we learned the lesson that if we try to do it only Europe, then we will fail, or we will more likely fail. And
Mhm.
so the openness now to collaborate internationally, but also with other companies, and being a little bit more open about processes, so that, okay, this is a really great technology. Let's work together. Let's integrate a little bit
Yeah.
more, so that we can have a much stronger product or a much stronger solution
Portfolio.
for our customers, right? So that's
Yeah, I think we are really in line with that. I last year already published an article in which I coined the term innovation diplomacy, and I think this term really fits well in here. Looking at the current situation in Europe, but also understanding, and thank you for giving us this perspective, that also the other continents, they also have needs and demands, and they also are at the brink of fear, for example, in some cases. And building this diplomatic discussion, that's where the term comes in again, I think has a big potential. So thank you, both of you, for having this open conversation, and looking forward to the next one.
Thank you so much for having us, Simon.
Thank you a lot, and congrats again for what you are doing.
Thanks.
Absolutely. It's a really great project.
Thank you.